In the 11th century, a maritime superpower ruled the seas. Their name was the Chola Empire. Their fleets dominated the Indian Ocean. Their armies stormed city after city, carving an empire across South India. Then, in 993, they stormed Lanka, shattering a kingdom that had stood for 1,000 years. But from the last bastion of freedom in the southern wilderness, who would rise to defy them? A teenage prince named Kitti. This is the story of a boy who hid in the forests and rose to defeat the mighty Chola Empire, becoming Vijayabahu the Great, the Lion of Lanka. The invasion began in 993 when Rajaraja Chola I sacked Anuradhapura, the sacred city of the Sinhalese. Years later, in 1017, his son Rajendra I captured King Mahinda V, carrying him away to die in exile. The Cholas renamed Lanka Mumudi Chola Mandalam, ruling from their new capital of Polonnaruwa, which they called Jananatha Mangalam. For 77 years, the Sinhalese people lived under the shadow of foreign rule. Their Buddhist Sangha was decimated, so few monks remained that the tradition of higher ordination nearly vanished. The sacred tooth relic, the heart of kingship, disappeared from the chronicles, hidden away from Chola grasp. Hindu temples rose in Polonnaruwa, while ancient Buddhist monasteries crumbled into ruin. Yet in Ruhuna, the wild southern frontier, the embers of freedom still burned. In 1039, a prince named Kitti was born into the remnants of the Sinhalese royal line. His childhood was not spent in a palace, but in the mountainous wilderness of Ruhuna, constantly on the move, protected by loyal chiefs. From this life in exile, the boy learned the land, the loyalty of allies, and the cruelty of foreign rule. We know of these struggles not only from the chronicles, but also from a later royal charter, the Panakadua copper plate, discovered in 1948. Written in Sinhalese prose, this rare 11th century inscription is often called one of the world's oldest thank you notes. It recalls the king's early hardships while serving as a formal decree of royal favor. In it, Vijayabahu records his gratitude to Sitnarubim Budelnavan, the powerful Dadanayaka, constable of Ruhuna, who sheltered his family during the calamity caused by the Chola tumults. This is the same chief mentioned in the Cūḷavaṃsa as Buddha Raja. As a lasting reward, the king granted Budal and his descendants privileges and pardons that secured their future for generations. But exile soon hardened into resolve. At just 15, the prince began to fight, defeating rival Sinhalese chiefs whose divisions weakened the island. The Cūḷavaṃsa, the Pali chronicle that continues the Mahāvaṃsa, tells us his rise was marked by battles, betrayals, and victories. After slaying the army leader Loka and later the chief Kassapa, Kitti became lord of Ruhuna at just 17, freeing the region from its enemies. By 1055, he had united Ruhuna under his rule and took the name Vijayabahu, the arm of victory. Vijayabahu's goal was clear: to liberate Lanka from the Cholas who had seized control. The war was not a single clash, but a 17-year struggle. In 1066, he boldly seized Polonnaruwa itself. For a moment, victory seemed within reach. But the Cholas counterattacked with powerful reinforcements from India, forcing the Sinhalese to retreat into the mountains. It was a harsh lesson. Brute force alone could not hold the capital. So Vijayabahu turned to cunning. At the Battle of Pulutapabata, he feigned retreat, lured the Cholas into a narrow pass, and unleashed an ambush so fierce the jungle itself seemed to rise against the invaders. The Chola commander was captured and slain, a stunning victory that electrified the island. Still, the war dragged on. The balance only shifted when turmoil struck the Chola heartland in 1069, with civil war and Chalukya invasions. Chola garrisons in Lanka suddenly stood isolated, cut off from India. Vijayabahu knew his moment had come. In 1070, Vijayabahu unleashed his masterstroke, a three-pronged assault to end Chola rule forever. One army marched up the west coast, seizing Mahatitha, the key port, severing reinforcements by sea. Another pressed along the east. Vijayabahu himself led the central force through jungle and mountain. The armies converged on Polonnaruwa. For 7 months, the Chola garrison held out, waiting for aid that never came. At last, the gates fell, and with them, Chola rule in Lanka. For decades, Chola inscriptions in South India had boasted of burning Lanka. After 1070, they fall silent. In that moment, the tiger banner fell, and the lion roared again. After 77 years of foreign occupation, Sri Lanka was free. Victory was only the beginning. In 1072, Vijayabahu crowned himself at Anuradhapura, then made Polonnaruwa his new capital, Vijayarajapura, the city of the victorious king. He dedicated himself to his people and the Buddhist Sangha. He restored irrigation works, the great reservoirs, bringing life back to the fields. He revived Buddhism, inviting monks from Burma to rekindle the sacred flame of ordination, and built and restored countless viharas and temples. He built a temple for the revered tooth relic and renewed roads and canals, mending not only the land, but the very heartbeat of his people. He forged alliances through marriage, taking Thilokasundari, a Kalinga princess, as his queen, and giving his sister Mitha in marriage to a Pandyan prince, securing stability beyond the battlefield. Yet through war and peace, Vijayabahu endured. For 55 years he reigned, not just as a conqueror, but as a restorer of his people's faith and identity. The Cholas were one of the greatest empires of their age. Yet in Lanka, they met their match. Others may have defeated Chola armies in battle, but Vijayabahu was the only one to expel them completely, restoring Sinhalese sovereignty after nearly 8 decades of foreign rule. A statement in the 1949 Archaeological Survey of Ceylon report, published under the leadership of the legendary archaeologist and historian Senarat Paranavitana, put it this way: had there been no Vijayabahu, there would perhaps have been no Sinhalese in Sri Lanka today. The historian K.A. Nilakantha Sastry echoed this sentiment, writing that, beyond a shadow of doubt, Vijayabahu was the author of Sinhalese freedom and one of the chief architects of Sinhalese nationality. Through his defiance, a boy became more than a king. He became a nation's shield. The Cholas bore the tiger as their emblem. The Sinhalese carried the lion. And in the end, the boy who hid in the forests became the Lion of Lanka, Vijayabahu the Great, the king who defeated an empire. Thanks for watching. This is Hela Nomad, uncovering the stories, legends, and history of our island and beyond. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me for the next adventure.